in this section we are going to discuss about consent. Who do you need to ask permission from if you want to let out your property? So let's have a look at the options we have. Now, the first place we have to go to is mortgage providers. So you have to take your mortgage agreement and read it. Maybe you have everything you need to know in there. Okay, so you have to read your agreement and see what are the conditions of the mortgage. And if you don't have anything specific there, you have to get in touch with your mortgage provider. And your mortgage provider might or might not ask you some of the following things. They might ask you not to have an agreement longer than 12 months. They might also ask you to only sign short hold tenancy agreements, which means if you want to rent your property in an Airbnb for full time, you cannot do that because they don't allow you to. Okay, they might also ask to see the tenant references. They might restrict you with regards to your tenants. Maybe they don't want any students there. Maybe they don't want any sharers. So it depends on your provider. They might even ask you to pay a fee for that because the deal you got when you got the mortgage out was for you to live there. And if you are to let the property out, then they might charge you a fee. That's because if you were to get a buy-to-let mortgage on that property, it's probably going to be more expensive. Buy-to-let mortgages are more expensive than the normal mortgages. So that's why they might charge an extra fee. They might even switch your mortgage to a buy-to-let. Okay, so you have to ask them. And another person you have to discuss this with is the freeholder. So basically you need to, first of all, if you have a leasehold agreement on your house, you have to look at this agreement for this property and to see what are the conditions for you to let out the property. Are you allowed to sublet? Do you need to ask for permission before subletting? And do you have any restrictions with regards to the tenants? Maybe if you inform them, they would tell you clearly what they want and what they don't want, because what happens usually is that if you have a flat in a block of flats, they might not be excited to have students because they're going to disturb the other residents. Or the same goes with sharers. If you want to make an HMO, they might not be happy about that because having people coming in and out all the time might not be the ideal scenario. So it depends on what you agree with the freeholder and what your lease agreement says. Okay, so moving on to the next section. You need to ask permission from your insurers. What I mean by that is you need to look at the agreement you signed with the building and content insurance provider, because the insurance agreement might only cover you and might not cover a property that is tenanted. You have to check that. And second of all, some insurance companies do not cover tenanted properties. When you have tenants, the insurance also covers third-party liability, which means that if the tenant gets hurt in your property and they need medical attention, the insurance company is going to cover that, but only if they are aware that there are tenants in your property. If you say that there's no one living there, or if you say that it's just yourself, then the insurance could possibly be invalidated, or they might just not cover you for that specific claim. Okay, so to summarize now, you need consent from your mortgage provider, and if you don't get consent from your mortgage provider, you have the risk of repossession. So the bank can come and repossess your property. You have to ask your freeholder, you have to check the leasehold agreement. And if your leasehold agreement states that you're not allowed to let out your property, you risk to have your property repossessed. And one last thing you need to check with is consent from the insurance company. So the insurance company needs to be aware that you have tenants in there, because they might or might not have that kind of product. And if they do have that kind of product, it's probably going to have a different price. Okay, so your insurance might be invalidated if you have tenants and you don't inform the insurance company, and you might not be able to claim third-party insurance in case something happens to the tenants while they are in the property, if they get hurt and they need medical attention. Okay, so that's all in this section. I hope you like it.